A flying boat plane model made with delicate craftsmanship. It was given to this guest by her grandfather, who had worked on its design. Inscribed on the piece is the name of the guest grandfather. With only 2 other models made, confirming its rarity, this flying boat plane model was made in 1929.
But at the time, it was the heaviest, biggest flying boat ever made. For that reason, it has a lot of mystique.
And what I think is amazing about this, too, is that this ship went to the German Museum of History.
The model is actually of a ship called the Dornier DOX, which was the largest, heaviest, and most powerful flying boat in the world when it was produced by the Dornier Company of Germany. The model is made out of a cast metal alloy, which adds to its uniqueness.
It's made out of a cast metal alloy. There's not many times you can say something's unique, and this apparently is unique.
At auction, this item, with its rarity and the fact that it was a model for a groundbreaking ship, would make it worth?
I would say it's worth, at auction, at least $6,000 to $8,000.
Awesome.
Our guest introduces a portfolio of watercolors that belong to her uncle, sharing a bit of family history. She explains that her uncle, tired of moving around, decided to keep the portfolio, which consists of 14 pieces. Our guest reveals that the watercolors were provided by Henry Lamb Burgess, a British watercolorist. She mentions that the watercolors were done in 1833. The appraiser acknowledges the value of the portfolio, and at auction, it could easily fetch a value of,
I think you'd have $8,000 to $10,000 in value.
Chug into history with this iconic train model. This was showcased by the guest after he had acquired it from his grandfather. His grandfather was gifted the piece by a prisoner who crafted it.
He was down here for about 5 years, and he built up quite a relationship with this gentleman.
Right.
They used to talk about the train all the time.
The train model, called Camelback, derived its name from its distinctive hump-like shape and is a replica of the New Jersey Central Railroad steam engine. It features a tinder made from a cigar box, and the boiler is crafted from birch logs. Additionally, it boasts intricately designed rails. Although this piece was made with scrap materials, it is a beauty to behold.
And who had obviously a lot of time on their hands and made the most intricate kinds of toys and mechanical things.
At auction, this model train exemplifies the craftsmanship of its maker. It would accrue a value of,
I would think on the auction market it would have an estimate of somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000.
The guest brought a painting that had been in his family for over 80 years. The painting was purchased by his great-grandparents in Mexico around 1930.
The painting for some time was in bad condition, and it was hanging behind a door.
Behind a door?
Behind a door in the house.
Dear.
If that door was open, then you couldn't see the painting.
It was painted by Diego Rivera in 1904, when he was just 18 years old. The painting was one of only a few known works from that early period in Rivera's career. It was an oil-on-canvas painting signed and dated lower right and features workers of Mexico as its subject matter. The painting had been missing and was considered whereabouts unknown until it was exhibited and authenticated in 1995 or 1996. Some restoration work had been done on the painting, including lining it with another canvas backing.
It's a very young man's signature. It's one of his school signatures rather than...
Due to its rarity, history, and condition, the appraiser estimated the painting's value to be,
I would be putting a retail estimate on the piece of between $800,000 and $1 million.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Oh my gosh.
The guest brought a collection of 51 Chinese dishes, purchased from a lifelong collector who believed they dated back to the turn of the century. Their Chinese origin was verified based on the enamel decoration, hand-painted flowers, and marks on the back. The dishes were likely made during the Guangzhou period, despite a mark indicating they were from the Qinglong period. The mark was an honorific mark, not meant to deceive. Their style was an 18th century design reinterpreted in the late 19th century. The market for Chinese items had risen significantly in recent years. The guest had no idea of the value and paid only $600 for the set 15 years ago. Due to the collection's outstanding quality and rarity, it was appraised at,
well, what would you think if I told you the entire set was conservatively $10,000 to $15,000 at
my
auction.
gosh.
Our guest introduces a sampler that has been in her family for many years. One day, the guest came home to find her 3-year-old son had been golfing in the house and...
One day I came home from work and I discovered that my 3-year-old had been golfing in the house.
Horrified, the guest took apart the sampler and discovered a letter from her great-grandmother. The letter revealed that Elizabeth made the sampler when she was 16 years old, and...
She writes, "I hope it will always stay in our family, and I'm 71 years when I write this, and I wonder who will find it and when."
Our guest shares that her son's golfing incident led her to trace her family history, connecting her to Elizabeth Dawson, her great-great-great-grandfather's sister. The appraiser highlights the significance of the letter found behind the sampler, noting it as valuable written family history rather than just verbal history. The appraiser admires the sampler's large, graphic design, featuring a house with animals and steps leading up to the front door, beautifully rendered in silk on a linen background, dated 1825. The appraiser mentions that while the sampler market is critical of condition, and this piece has fading issues, it has more value as a family heirloom. For insurance purposes, the appraiser suggests a value of...
I would say if you were insuring this for your family, let's put a $5,000 insurance value on it.
Okay, thank you.
This beautiful item had been in the guest family for generations, and remarkably, her mother, grandmother, aunt, and great-grandmother were all named Margaret or Margarita. This item was originally made by a girl named Margaret and carried a lovely message on it. The appraiser revealed that Margarita had attended Sarah McCardell's school and made it in 1825. He explained that each intricate detail was meticulously drawn beforehand, and then it was up to the girls to bring them to life, competing to see who could execute them the best. This sampler was exquisitely crafted and adorned with delicate silk flowers that added a touch of elegance. The appraiser commended the artwork, particularly noting the effective use of red hues, while also acknowledging some water damage and stains present. To the guest's amazement, the appraiser estimated this piece to be...
Pre-sale auction estimate on this sampler would be $7,000 to $10,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Our guest shares that her mother gave it to her recently, though it was originally purchased at a tag sale about 25 to 30 years ago. They had forgotten about the box until rediscovering it while sorting through her mother's jewelry a few months ago. The appraiser highlights the box's intriguing design and notes that it is marked.
Well, the box is very interesting, and then when you open it up and you find something more interesting inside, you say to yourself, wow. Okay? And, of course, the box says it's from Cartier.
The appraiser describes the box as a piece of artwork with impeccable green, red, and white enamel, and mentions the mirror inside, which can be replaced. The standout feature is a natural ruby surrounded by tiny rose diamonds. The appraiser speculates the compact once belonged to a wealthy lady and estimates its auction value at...
A Cartier box like this, at auction, can easily go for anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000.
Wow.
It's a great present that your mother gave you.
It sure is. Thanks, Mom.
Imagine seeing one of these dolls in a horror movie. It would surely give you the creeps. But contrary to what most Gen Z might think, this Kewpie doll was one of the most in-demand dolls in the early 1900s.
There were stories all about the Kewpie and how the Kewpie lived and where the Kewpies went. And of course, children love that. And all Kewpies have little blue wings like this guy. To be an authentic Kewpie, it has to have blue wings.
They were designed by Rose O'Neill, who was an American cartoonist and illustrator.
Your Kewpie doll actually was made in Germany around 1914. This particular Kewpie is bisque. It's an all-bisque doll with movable arms.
This particular doll was made in Germany in 1914, and it was one of the largest of its type ever made with movable hands. In an auction, this finely made Kewpie doll would retail at the price of...
Perfect condition, original box, great expression, $1,200.
This basket is not just any item you'd see on the roadshow. This fine pottery material is a bride's basket. It was popularly used in the 1800s as a luxury gift to brides on their wedding. At the time of its making, these baskets were an elegant way to express love for your bride. This particular basket was made in France by a company called Longwy.
What you would do is you would take a metal body and put a series of metal fences around it and fill it with enamel.
And in contrast to being made from glass, this basket was made from enamel.
What they did was use little black ink borders, and that's what holds the enamel in place.
This basket was made in 1885, and the design on its surface is nothing short of beautiful. As a fragile piece, this basket is better looking than most of its type, and because of this, it would auction at
auction, you would be looking at a price of around $1,000 to $1,500. It's really a beautiful piece of pottery.
Wow.
Thanks for bringing it down.
Thank you.
A glance at this would make you think it's a jug, but this finely designed pitcher is much more than that. The pitcher has a beautiful classical design that was pertinent in the 1800s.
Well, you liked the hound handle.
Yes.
Well, the hound handle, and as a matter of fact, the shape in general, devolves from an English form, which was done by a company named Phillips and Bagster in England.
And it was manufactured in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1845. It has a superior handle with a fine design, which is coupled with what appears to be a hunting scene design on the handle's surface.
Now, the glaze is what we call a Rockingham glaze. Well, a Rockingham glaze is basically a clear glaze which has been stained or colored with manganese to make it look brown.
It looks like it was made from bronze due to the brown color, but that's just thanks to the rocking glaze, which gives it a fine shine. Given the fine design on this pitcher, at auction, it would retail at the price of.
The value of this is between, I would say, $2,000 and $3,000, probably around $2,800 realistically, something like that. What do you think of that?
Fabulous.
The guest brought a 130-year-old automaton which belonged to his late father to the show. This mechanical robot of a lady is an automaton called a snake charmer. The lady is seen to be holding a long staff, which is actually a long snake, and a flute in her hand.
And when he retired, he decided to collect things like this.
But was this his prized possession?
It's one of his prized possessions, yeah. He had two, this one and the Cambodian dancer.
The movements of her hands, heads, and upper body are carefully synchronized to create the impression of a living, breathing musician. The figure's head, clothing, and overall appearance are highly lifelike, with delicate features and intricate patterns in the fabric of her dress. These automatons were highly sought after by the wealthy and powerful of the time to impress guests and showcase their technological prowess. It often served as entertainment and demonstration pieces, showcasing the capabilities of mechanical engineering and the ingenuity of the designer.
So she's got the trumpet.
This piece, being an engineering and artistic masterpiece, would auction at.
If you decided to sell it today, I think at auction you'd be talking a figure of between, well, £60,000 and £80,000.
Our guest inherited a collection of compacts and a Minaudière, originally passed down from her mother's family. The appraiser began with the first compact, identifying it as a Cartier piece from around 1940 to 1945.
This would be the latest of the group, probably circa 1940, 45.
Right.
And it has one little ruby.
The second compact, also by Cartier, dates back to the Art Deco period, circa 1925, featuring black enamel with diamond accents.
It's black enamel with diamonds, accenting. They used a lot of black enamel.
This piece was made in Paris and retailed in London, opening to reveal a mirror and a compact. Despite some damage, it remains a beautiful example of the era's craftsmanship. The third item is a Minaudière from the 1930s, which served as an evening bag. This elegant Minaudière, made by Arnold Ostertag, features a floral motif with diamonds and...
They're not as well known as Cartier and Van Cleef & Arpels, their neighbors.
Sure.
But they were every bit as talented.
The Minaudière opens to reveal a watch, a lighter, a compartment for powder and a mirror, and a section for cigarettes. The appraiser provided auction estimates. The first compact valued at
auction, a conservative estimate would be $15,000 to $20,000.
That's amazing.
So it's really a wonderful collection.
Wow.
On display is no ordinary walking stick. It's a walking stick with a story to tell. The stick was inherited by our guest from his father.
He enlisted in the 22nd Michigan Volunteer Infantry in March of 1865 and was deployed to Chattanooga on April 7th, and I guess he was in the war for about 2 days before they surrendered.
This wooden stick was carved by Mike Cribbings, and the cane boasts a variety of carvings all around its body.
They almost always have a reference to Civil War. People don't know if he made them on order, but a lot of them show up with this kind of imagery on them. Mm-hmm. The lady's hand.
It features a carved lady's hand, some carvings that reference the Civil War, Masonic symbols, and much more. Other details carved into the piece include a whimsical face, and the cane has a hole carved into it near its handle. It's not far-fetched that this cane, with the attention to the detailing of its carvings, would be valued at...
I think you should put an insurance value on it of $6,000.
Wow.
Our guest purchased this piece of furniture from a couple going through a divorce about 2 years ago. The appraiser identified the piece as a federal mahogany, rosewood, and birchwood inlaid Beaufront server, likely made in Salem, Massachusetts. Key features, such as outset corners, rope from beading, and waterleaf carvings, suggest it was made by the cabinet maker William Hook. This piece is notable for its narrow, vertical design and the exquisite veneer work.
There's this fantastic waterleaf carving on the top of the colonnettes.
Okay.
Continuing to this reeded leg. And these are all hallmarks.
The bottom of the sunburst features a fan inlay with a shaded effect created using hot sand. Extra touches like veneer panels on the sides and fully carved capitals on the back indicate the cabinet maker's exceptional craftsmanship. The appraiser found a nearly identical piece in the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, made by William Hook around 1808 to 1809. This piece is dated to circa 1810, with the original punched brass hardware likely intact. Despite being refinished, the piece remains in excellent condition, and the appraiser valued it at...
I would put an estimate of $5,000 to $8,000 on it.
Wow.
The guest brought to the show a 1918 Harriet Whitney Frismuth bronze, which was passed down to him by his grandfather. Harriet Whitney Frismuth was an American sculptor known for her works in bronze. The bronze, called The Star, depicts a female nude figure in a dynamic, flowing pose, with her body twisting and arcing as if grasping or reaching for a celestial object. The elongated limbs and fluid, undulating lines of the figure create a sense of movement and aspiration. The female figure embodies the concepts of spirituality, transcendence, and humanity's connection to the cosmos.
The title of this bronze is The Star. It's 1918. There were actually, I think, 338 of this particular model that were cast from 1918.
This piece is considered a masterful example of a significant work of American figurative art from the Classical Revival period and would conservatively be valued at...
For insurance purposes, you want to think about a figure for replacement value at $20,000.
$20,000?
That's right.
Holy Toledo.
The guest brought a cheese plate that her father chose to pick from a brothel about to be sold in Charlottesville, Virginia. The guest believed it was a Wedgwood piece, but the appraiser disagreed. Wedgwood didn't produce pieces with the finial hunting scene or oak leaves of this sort. The piece was identified as drabware, a type of stoneware with a greenish-brown color. Wedgwood did make drabware, but with a greener tint, and other manufacturers in the area made similar pieces. The piece was dated to around 1880, a popular time for making covered cheese dishes. This piece was not marked, so the manufacturer was unknown. After the piece's history and significance was revealed, its value was estimated at...
At auction today, it would be in the range of
$200 to $400.
Oh, I'll use it.
Go ahead.
I'll put it on the dining room table and put cheese in it.
Excellent.
Whenever we see a piece having the features of the Cubist movement, the first name that comes to mind is none other than the man famous for co-founding the movement, Pablo Picasso. This glass sculpture, though not made by Picasso, has characteristics of his works.
There were a number of artists who were encouraged to work in different mediums.
Venetian glass, a type of glassware made in Venice, was used to craft the piece, and it was made by a company called IVM Mezzega on the island of Murano, where Venetian glass is primarily found. With a minimalist and modern design, this glass was crafted circa 1950. This glass sculpture is truly a piece to own, both as a reflection of Picasso's style and the use of Venetian glass.
It is a minimalist and yet modern design done in the 1950s, and they're becoming more and more collectible as time goes on.
This glass sculpture, well made, shiny, and incorporating Picasso's style that is well loved and admired, would be worth,
I would expect at auction, with other pieces of a similar nature, that this piece would bring between $4,000 and $6,000.
A unique shirt with a fascinating history was given to the Guest family in exchange for supplies by Native Americans in the mid-1800s. This shirt belonged to a reddish-haired, blue-eyed boy believed to have been a captive who was later adopted and raised by the Guest ancestors. Crafted around 1850, this shirt is adorned with glass pony beads, the first beads traded in North America. The intricate beadwork, all sewn with animal sinew, covers both the front and the back of the shirt.
It was also a time when all that land was disputed.
Made primarily from bison hide with deer hide accents, the shirt dates back to a time when bison roamed the plains.
All of this is glass.
Oh, it's
It's all glass beads. And if you flip it over, you see where they're stitched down.
Mm-hmm.
The distinctive arrow or spear point design suggests it might be of Kiowa origin, known for their unique cranberry-colored beads. Stored carefully for generations, this shirt's historical and cultural significance is immense. At auction, this extraordinary artifact, reflecting the turbulent history of the American frontier, would be valued at,
I would expect a retail price on this of around $150,000.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
This work of art is more than just a glass vase. It's a well-made piece from the glassworks of Paolo Venini. Venini was one of the leading figures in the production of Murano glass and an important contributor to 20th century Italian design. The vase is so well designed that it even looks like a cat and has a pulled feather design.
And he had a glass house in Murano, Italy.
This piece was probably made with Venetian glass.
If you look, it looks like a cat, 2 eyes and 2 ears. Yes. And it has a pulled feather design. This is an old technique.
And its date of creation can be said to be circa 1955. A vase from one of the most important figures in the 20th century glassware is sure to be in high demand, and it's valued at...
Evelyn at auction could go from $8,000 to $10,000.
Wow. Oh, you made me get goosebumps.
A forgotten radar from high school renovation turns out to be a valuable World War II submarine relic. The Guest got the radar unit from his wife, a teacher at West De Pere High School during a renovation 15 years ago. It was found in a science teacher's room and was going to be discarded. The Guest insisted on saving it, recognizing its historical value, and it has been in their basement ever since. The appraiser then discussed the radar's significance, despite its large and heavy nature. The Guest shared that a doctor in De Pere had bought a decommissioned PT boat and acquired the necessary electronics to restore it. The doctor passed away, and his widow donated the components to the high school. Over time, the AV and radio clubs scavenged the parts until the radar unit remained. The appraiser identified it as a SD-3 long-range air search radar used on World War II American submarines. It would have been mounted on the conning tower's radar mast, providing crucial warnings of enemy aircraft. While estimating the value of the object, the appraiser said,
A retail value for this today, I would expect to see in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000.
Wow. Okay.
A childhood tea set found in an old barn reveals its rich Lenox history and surprising value at auction. The guest shared a story about a tea set she bought with her father when she was 6 years old at an old barn in the Poconos. Her parents often took her antiquing when she was young. She knew it was Lenox from the stamp on the bottom and loved the pink and flowery design. The set cost $25 back then. The appraiser explained that Lenox china was made in Trenton, New Jersey, which was the art porcelain capital of America for about 20 to 30 years. The rich clay deposits in the area, left by the last ice age, contributed to this. Walter Scott Lenox started the Ceramic Art Company in Trenton in 1889, initially producing decorative artware rather than dinner sets. The marks on the tea set and the CAC for Ceramic Art Company, a wreath, and a unicorn for the Mauser Silver Market dates it to around 1906. The guest expressed that she would keep the set as it sparked her love for antiques. While giving a value for the tea set, the appraiser said,
I would say a set like this is at auction between $500 and $1,000.
Okay.
A glance at this painting confirms that its creator was an expert. This painting, called Jackie II, was made in honor of Jacqueline Kennedy by one of America's best visual artists in the person of Andy Warhol. The painting was part of a collection called 11 Pop Artists that was produced in 1966.
Folio called 11 Pop Artists that was produced in 1966.
Okay.
It's a black screen print on a lavender ground. This is particularly interesting not only because it has that direct connection back to Warhol.
Besides being a print by one of America's best visual artists, this painting is special because it has a seal of approval and is hence called an artist proof. Artist proof stood as a symbol of approval for the press to use a particular print. Because it was created by Andy, this Jackie II print would retail today at...
The replacement value on this print we would expect to be around $20,000.
Yeah, I was thinking more like 2.
High quality and artistic design. That's the first thing that comes to mind when you see this beautiful lamp. Lamps like these were the dreams of rich and poor alike in the early 20th century, and not just because of their superior manufacturer, known as Bradley and Hubbard.
Hubbard started in 1852 in Meriden, Connecticut. They were always known for high quality and artistic design. The company was eventually sold in 1940, so they had a long run in American history.
But also because of the exquisite look and luxurious feel of the lamp.
The other Tiffany-esque makers.
Okay.
So Bradley and Hubbard would be included in that, but they were the high end of their genre.
The metal used for the lamp is a distinct type of white metal. The design of the lamp closely resembles that of a mushroom, which communicates expert craftsmanship. Given it was manufactured by Bradley and Hubbard, this lamp in today's market would auction at...
Have a retail price around $4,000 to $5,000. So you have a very nice example of a Bradley and Hubbard lamp.
What a beautiful lamp this is. That's the first thought that comes to mind when you see this item. The lamp, called a table lamp, was made by Mo Bridges Company in Wisconsin.
Working off of designs that the Handel Glass Company and the Pearpoint Glass Company made very famous in New England. And this is what I would describe as a notch down in quality from those lamps.
And it was in demand, particularly during the late 19th century and early 20th century. What's special about this lamp is the beautiful scenic image painted on it, which is the testament of the sheer expertise of the manufacturer. The base also looks like bronze, but it's not. At auction, this Mo Bridges table lamp would retail at the auction price of...
I would appraise it probably in the $2,000 to $3,000 range.
Really?
Before us is a small pistol which almost looks like a tool and has a great design. The palm pistol was passed down to the guest from his great-grandfather, who had acquired it. The Chicago Arm Company made the Palm pistol in 1895. This model is special because the company only made 13,000 pieces.
And really meant for personal protection. Condition is everything with guns.
This pistol works through a rotary system which makes it revolve just one at a time and is fired through a palm action, squeezing the palm to shoot. The matching serial numbers on the cover and plate of the pistol are important because collectors love to have both. So at auction, this 19th century inspired antique pistol of much beauty would retail at?
A gun like this would retail at a gun show easily $2,000.
Wow.
Here we see a black inked print of people gathering together. The guest received this basin Rembrandt etching from his mother. This etching was inspired by printed plates created by Rembrandt Harmenzoon, a famous Dutch 17th century painter and printmaker. He's generally considered one of the greatest visual artists of all time.
In French, it's actually La Petite Tombe. It's one of Rembrandt's many biblical prints. I see.
Although the plate was made by Rembrandt, but the etching was done in 1780 by Pierre-François Bassin, a French engraver, editor, and print seller, he had bought the plate made by Rembrandt at the time.
The printmaker Bazin in the late 18th century.
Artworks from Rembrandt's 17th century era are highly revered, more so than later pieces, therefore putting this art piece, touched by two great artists of different eras, at an auction value of?
Would ring between $4,000 to $6,000 at auction.
Well, that's still pretty impressive at that.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Before us lies a stunning watercolor depiction of a lake within a city. The guest inherited it from her mother, who received it during an office evacuation.
Give us an orientation here.
I believe that this is what we would think of as downtown Cleveland today.
This is an image of Cleveland from 1851, made with watercolor. Looking closely at the item, we can see the intricate details of the city, detailing the downtown parts of Cleveland.
Don't know of an earlier overall topographic view of Cleveland.
At the back of the item, there are prints indicating its acquisition by Kennedy & Company, a painting gallery enterprise in 1941. This watercolor image stands out due to its rarity in depicting Cleveland's early topography. So at auction, this exciting rare artwork of watercolor imprints would sell for
somewhere in the $12,000 range.
Well, there go our insurance premiums.
Well, there you go, but you got it at the right price.
I think so.
And it's a fabulous part of Cleveland history.
This exquisite 19th century Chinese jade scepter, known as a Ruyi scepter, is a fascinating artifact with rich cultural significance.
It is a type of thing you would give as an offering, a gift to someone. An important personage might receive something like this from another equal.
The term Ruyi translates to as you wish, liking it to a Chinese magic wand symbolizing power and good fortune. This particular scepter is carved from nephrite jade, one of the two primary types of jade, though it features a slightly less white hue than typically desired. The scepter is adorned with intricate carvings, each imbued with symbolic meaning. At one end, a bat symbolizes good luck, a common motif in Chinese art. Further along, a qilin, a mythical creature often described as a baby dragon, adds to the scepter's mystical allure. The top of the scepter is especially notable, featuring a landscape design intricately carved into the jade.
But the whole top section of this is shaped like a Lingshire fungus, which is a fungus of immortality.
Given its craftsmanship and historical significance, this piece is highly sought after, and at auction would fetch.
This one, if I were to put in an auction, I would estimate it $1,500 to $2,500 as a conservative estimate. So what do you?
It's very good news.
Oh, good. Did you have any idea of value?
Actually, no.
Yeah.
Never had it appraised or anything.
Exceptionally precious, this 18-karat gold snuff box is a captivating piece from the early 1800s, featuring an exquisite enamel butterfly that truly stands out when illuminated by sunlight. The craftsmanship of the butterfly is so remarkable that it seems to pop with vibrant beauty under direct light.
The detail in this is just incredible. I love over here on his epaulets, the detail in this face. And you see the emotion in them talking to each other. It's incredible.
Interestingly, the Bach lacks any hallmark or maker's mark, which adds a layer of mystery to its origins. While commonly referred to as a Swiss enamel, it's possible that this box was crafted in France. Despite the absence of definitive markings, the quality and allure of this snuff box make it highly valuable and would fetch,
At auction, would bring $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow. This one here?
This one here. The butterfly.
Guest brought in 2 false books that he received from his mother's uncle when he was 8 years old. The uncle was a world traveler and had a large apartment in New York with many interesting items. The guest and his sister were allowed to choose a few trinkets to keep, and the guest chose these 2 items. It was determined that these were French and dated from the late Victorian to Edwardian period, around 1900 to 1920. One of the items was a music box with a decanter set and tooled leather interior and exterior. The other item was a poker set disguised as a book, complete with baccarat glasses and crystal glasses inside. The appraiser was impressed that the cards had never been used and that the items were in excellent condition. The guest had kept the items in great shape since he was 8 years old. The appraiser estimated the value of these well-kept faux book form cases at,
Based on similar examples at auction, the smaller box would be $300 to $500, and the bigger one's going to be about $500 to $800.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
The guest brought a collection of stick pins he bought at an auction during his trip to Spain. He wanted to impress his newly married wife, so he made a bid 10% higher than the opening price. The guest paid $1,200 for all 13 pins, roughly less than $100 each. The collection was assembled by someone with a very discerning eye and well-traveled. Most of the stick pins were French, with the French hallmarks, and all the appearing gemstones were genuine. There was a knight in armor featuring an inset of rubies, one standing figure fully enameled in gold, and another pin featuring a horse's nail with diamond, rubies, and gold. There was also a bird in flight, a very Spanish battle axe with the helmet, another bird with diamond and gold featuring a sapphire body. This highly unique treasure trove of stick pin collection was appraised at
Definitely an easy $12,000.
Wow, Barry, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. We had no idea.
This tiger maple secretary has a fascinating history, as it was willed to the guest mother by a relative, a career woman. This secretary features inlays that likely originated from Great Britain, indicating it was crafted in a coastal town. The lid, a faux tambour cylinder, is carved from a single piece, showcasing remarkable craftsmanship.
And there are 2 labels on the back of this piece of furniture that say gimbal.
The interior, made of tiger maple, is complemented by a pull-out board of birch, known as a mountain mahogany, due to its mahogany-like appearance when stained. Further research suggests that this piece could be the work of Thomas Nisbet, a cabinet maker who moved from Scotland to St. John, New Brunswick in 1813.
You have a little bit of Jamaican mahogany here.
However, the intricate inlays support the theory that it is one of the finest pieces of cabinet making that's worth,
I am going to give you a figure of $50,000.
Well, that's amazing.
A German cup and saucer with a fascinating history was purchased by this guest for her parents' 50th wedding anniversary.
What is particularly fascinating about it is the decoration on the cup.
The German porcelain set features a hand-painted scene of Native Americans, reflecting 19th century German fascination with the American Wild West. Crafted around 1850, it commemorates the travels and exploration of Germans who ventured into the American frontier. The saucer has an inscription from El Sommer to his brother Ferdinand, dated 1857, highlighting its sentimental value.
The inscription on the saucer reads, and I'll translate it because it's in German.
The symbols on the saucer indicate their membership in different German fraternities. At auction, this beautifully preserved set, with its historical significance and increased value, would fetch.
I would fully expect it to bring in the range of $1,200 to $1,800. Thank you so much, Joyce.
A Goodyear Zeppelin store advertising display with a surprising history.
But this is a store advertising display that would have been potentially in a tire shop, but it was also advertising the Goodyear Zeppelin.
It was inherited by this guest from her grandmother. This pressed steel model, dating from 1924 to World War II, showcases Goodyear's aeronautics division. The model's pristine condition and working electromechanical elements enhance its collectible value.
And here we go.
Its multifaceted appeal spans automobilia, aeronautics,
this is just so cool,
and toy collecting, making it highly sought after. The item's untouched state is crucial, as any restoration would significantly reduce its value. At auction, this rare and impressive advertising display with its collectible value could fetch a sum of.
But conservatively, you would see it today estimated $3,000 to $5,000. And I think if you put it in a room in front of the right people, that number could be higher.
Wonderful.
The Vairocana Buddha from 1410, a radiant sight, holds the key to wisdom and light. A man has a deep interest in Chinese cultural items, especially Buddha statues. He often consults his friends for advice on their value. He purchased a Vairocana Buddha online for $30,000. This rare gilt bronze statue is from the Yongle period, and it holds a Varja in one hand, which represents a thunderbolt and instant enlightenment. The other hand is making a blessing gesture, and the Buddha is seated in a yoga pose. The Empress gifts signed statues for Tibetan monks. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
"This bronze is worth between $150,000 to $200,000.
Wow.
From a lump of clay to a work of art, this pottery vase embodies creativity. The guest presented this delicate vase, which was made by the Anna Company, and it belonged to the guest's great-great-grandfather, Cornwell Kirkpatrick, who was a potter and one of the founders of the Anna Pottery Company. At the bottom of the item is the Anna Pottery Mark, dated 1884. Additionally, the vase is modeled in a baluster shape and boasts hand-molded flowers.
The flowers, which are the strength of the design, are molded individually and then pressed onto this and kind of hand-built.
Furthermore, featured on the vase body is a scratch engraving. Although the piece was made in the late 1800s, it is still in pretty good shape. This piece of earthenware, with its fabulous designs, would, at auction, be valued at.
And I think the high estimate could be as much as $15,000.
That's good to know.
It's a wonderful quality piece, is what most would say. But it's more than just that for this toy horse and cart.
Got it sometime in the 1920s. It was a gift from her grandmother.
You've not done any research on it at this point, is that correct?
No, I've tried, actually.
Only a few people in history could make furniture as finely finished as this. And this is just a testament to the sheer expertise put into the toy piece.
Wood carving on the mouth, the teeth are delineated, and then usually over the wood body, they will put burlap and then tighten the burlap down.
The toy consists of a horse and cart compartment, which were crafted around 1920. The cart also has wire wheels, which were in high demand in the 1920s. With its fine finish, this superiorly made toy would retail at the auction price of.
I would expect it to bring between $1,800 and $2,000.
Wow.
Look away, because this is not what any antique lover would call a toy. This is a rifled cavalry carbine, and it was used by the cavalry, as its name suggests.
And this for a long time was our standard cavalry weapon.
Guns like these were made from 1848 to 1859, hence their name, Model 1847. Despite their dangerous look, there's an interesting story behind the making of this gun.
They used them for a little while. They didn't work out so well. And about 1855, we adopted rifled arms for all of our military.
Another interesting thing about this gun is that it's rare.
They only did a few hundred of these. Almost all of them got altered for some other use. They didn't get altered to rifle carbines.
This is due to the fact that at the time, the U.S. was testing different makes of guns. The gun is a symbol of military superiority, and in an auction, it would retail at
somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000.
Well, that's a nice return on investment.
Pretty darn good return.
What looks like a cherub statue is actually much more than that. It's an item called a flower holder that was manufactured in Germany, and it was crafted from pottery, more specifically, earthenware. This flower holder was crafted by Ferdinand Liebermann for a pottery and porcelain company called Rosenthal.
The Rosenthal factory is located in Selb in Bavaria in southern Germany. And it's a well-known Bavarian porcelain and pottery making company.
And in the early 1900s, they were known to craft some of the best artistic sculptures.
Rosenthal. And Liebermann was a great modeler who started at Rosenthal about 100 years ago and worked through the teens and the 20s.
This piece is no different from a masterpiece. It is a work of art. Given the beauty of this flower holder, it would retail at the auction price of,
I think today in a good antique shop, it's a $2,000 item. The quality is beautiful and the condition is excellent.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Exhibited today is a vintage lounge chair gifted to the guest by one of his clients.
She came to me and said, I know that the doctor would have wanted you to have this chair, so it was gifted to me.
The chair, designed in the 1920s by Charles Jeanneret, a Swiss-French architect, designer, painter, and writer.
Designing. Corbusier made furniture that was user-friendly, and as he said, it was made to fit our limbs, that these pieces were really extensions of our body.
Features tubular chrome-plated construction and a chase lounge that slides and adjusts. Its tubular curves are covered by rubber braces and pony hide. Folding up the rubber braces reveals the marker's label and the date of the item. Additionally, the chair bears the designer's signature along its side. The provenance of this chair is remarkable, and it's estimated to be worth
$3,000 to $4,000. But it could do better because it's so iconic.
That's good to know. You know, it excites me so much I almost want to do a Tom Cruise and jump on the couch.
This guest mother, who was born in 1921, grew up in Wauchpala, South Dakota. She collected the showcased items while running a store in the Standing Rock Reservation.
My theory is that possibly Indians bartered some of their goods for things at the store.
Included in the collection are 2 large bags called possible bags, a translation from the Sioux meaning anything possible can fit in them. Additionally, when the tribal people were migrating, these bags were used as saddlebags. The bags are adorned with colorful motifs and tin cones around their edges. At auction, these tribal multi-purpose bags would fetch a sum of,
they would probably achieve $4,000 for the pair.
We also have a beaded Bible cover, decorated with beaded designs of flowers and butterflies. We can expect this beautifully crafted beaded book cover to sell for
probably be between $400 and $600.
Oh, that's really nice.